I poisoned my husband's coffee that morning, not with arsenic, but with the bitter truth I'd been swallowing for years. As he choked on the lukewarm brew, sputtering about how it tasted like regret, I watched his eyes widen, not from the drink, but from the Polaroid slipping from my fingers onto the kitchen counter, him and his mother, arms linked in front of a burning envelope, the one holding the deed to my family's farm. And in that split second, before he could deny it, I whispered, "You took everything from me, Richard. Now it's my turn to take it back from both of you." It started 5 years ago, back when Richard and I were still playing at being the perfect Midwestern couple in that cookie-cutter suburb outside Chicago. We had the split-level ranch house with the white picket fence, the 2.5 kids, mine from a previous marriage, his stepkid in name only, and weekends grilling brats at the lake. I was Josephine Hargrove then, Josephine Ellis after the wedding, 42, a high school English teacher who quoted Hemingway to bored teens and dreamed of turning my late parents' Iowa cornfield into a writer's retreat. Richard was the charmer, a mid-level sales rep for some agritech firm, with that easy grin and stories about closing deals over whiskey sours at the VFW hall. His mother, Evelyn, God, where to even start with Evelyn, was the queen bee of our little hive, a retired bank teller from the old school who wore pearls with her muumuus and doled out advice like it was gospel. Family first. Josie. Blood don't lie. Blood. That's the word that always stuck in my craw. Because mine wasn't Ellis blood, it was Hargrove. Straight from the dirt of Black Hawk County, where my folks had poured their souls into that 160-acre spread. Dad died in '08, crushed under a combine, ironic, since he always said farming was in his veins. Mom followed 2 years later, cancer eating her from the inside out while the bank circled like vultures. I inherited the farm, mortgaged to the hilt, but it was mine. Our haven. The place I'd drag Richard to on harvest weekends, making him shuck corn and swear he'd help me fix the sagging barn. "We'll make it a bed and breakfast," he'd say, kissing my neck under the stars. "You and me against the world." Yo. Evelyn hated it from the jump. Called it that godforsaken patch of weeds every time we drove the 3 hours west. She'd corner me in her kitchen, stirring Jell-O salad with that passive-aggressive smile. "Richard deserves better than scraping by on your daddy's ghost. Dear. A man needs stability." Stability. That's code for her endless demands, more grandkids, as if my daughter Ellie, 15 and sharp as a tack, wasn't enough. More holidays at her place in Elmhurst. More money funneled into Richard's investments. He was always pitching some scheme, solar panels on the farmhouse roof, or leasing acreage to frackers. Even not. Pay the notes. Because love's a blindfold, right? Or maybe I was just tired. The betrayal hit like a silo collapse. It was Ellie's junior year, 2022, when the IRS letter arrived, certified mail, red-stamped like a death warrant. Tax evasion. 20 grand owed on undeclared income from the farm. But I hadn't touched a dime of profit. Hell, we were barely breaking even after the floods. I scrambled. Called the accountant, our accountant, Evelyn's second cousin twice removed, who stammered something about clerical errors and forged signatures. Forged. My signature, looped and elegant from years of grading papers, scrawled sloppy on lease agreements I never signed. The land was gone. Sublet to some corporate outfit for wind turbines. Proceeds vanished into thin air. Richard was out of town on business, so I drove to Evelyn's, the letter clutched like a grenade. She met me at the door in her housecoat, hair in rollers, and before I could speak, She sighed. Oh, Josie.
Sit down.
This is bigger than you know. Bigger. Turns out, Richard had been dipping into farm funds for years, gambling debts from online poker, bailing out his deadbeat brother in Vegas. Evelyn knew.
Hell.
She co-signed the lies, cooking the books to keep the wolf from her door. He couldn't tell you, she said, pouring me tea that tasted like regret. You're so idealistic. It would have broken your heart.
Broken.
As if it wasn't shattering right then. Glass shards embedding in my chest. I took the fall. Pleaded guilty to misdemeanor fraud, first offense, community service, probation. Kept my teaching job by the skin of my teeth.
But the farm?
Auctioned off for pennies. Ellie cried for weeks. Her room wallpapered with sketches of the old red barn. Richard? He held me at night, whispering apologies that reeked of bourbon. We'll rebuild.
Babe.
Start fresh.
Fresh.
Like wiping blood from a knife. That's when the secrets started unraveling. Late nights. I'd sift through his laptop. Password was Ellie's birthday. The bastard, finding emails from Evelyn. Double down on the offshore account. Ricky. Josie's too busy with her little poems to notice. Poems. My manuscript for the retreat. Half-finished dreams now fuel for their fire. Deeper digs revealed the real gut punch. The farm wasn't just leased. It was tainted.
Daddy's accident?
Not mechanical failure. Sabotage. A brake line cut, witnessed by a farmhand who vanished after cashing a check from Evelyn's bank.
Why?
Turns out, my folks had discovered Richard's side hustle, funneling crop subsidies to shell companies, and threatened to go public. Evelyn, ever the protector, handled it. A quiet payoff. A tampered machine. And poof, Hargrove legacy buried under Iowa clay. I confronted Richard one snow-dusted December eve, the Christmas lights on the mantel mocking us. Did you know? I asked, voice steady as a loaded .22. He crumbled, knees to the carpet, sobbing about protecting the family.
Family. His.
Not mine. Evelyn burst in uncanny timing, like she had a sixth sense for damage control, clutching a bottle of Merlot. Don't be dramatic, Josephine. It was mercy. Your father was a drunk. The farm was doomed.
Drunk. Dad.
Who nursed one beer a month and built swings for the county fair. Lies layered like onion skin, peeling back to reveal the rot. That's when the revenge took root, not hot and vengeful, but cold, calculated, the kind that festers in the quiet hours. I played the part, the wounded wife, the doting stepmom, baking pies for Evelyn's bridge club and laughing at Richard's jokes. But underneath, I schemed. Hired a PI with my savings, ex-cop from Des Moines, gruff guy named Hank who chain-smoked camels and called me kid. He dug wire transfers to a Cayman account, Evelyn's name on the docs, Richard's burner phone pinging casinos in Reno. And the kicker, a love nest in Milwaukee. Richard and his assistant, a 25-year-old with daddy issues and a tattoo of a serpent on her thigh. Controversial? Hell yes. I didn't go to the cops, not yet. That would be clean. Righteous.
No.
I wanted them to feel the slow bleed. The doubt gnawing like termites in drywall. First move, anonymous tips to Richard's boss. Framing it as insider trading on farm leases. He got a suspension. Pending investigation, his commissions dried up overnight. Evelyn? I leaked her volunteer work at the church, skimming bake sale funds, to the parish newsletter.
Petty? Sure.
But watching her pearl clutch at the next potluck, defending her good name, while whispers spread like flu season, priceless. Ellie suspected something. My girl, with her dyed blue hair and poetry slams, cornered me one afternoon in the garage, amid boxes of my folks' old letters. Mom, you're different.
Like,
Scary different. I hugged her tight, inhaling the scent of vanilla shampoo and rebellion. Just growing up.
kiddo.
Like you. She didn't buy it, but she covered, distracting Richard with tales of school drama while I wired funds from their joint account to a trust for her college. Stealing from thieves. Moral gray zone? Abso-fucking-lutely. But blood, my blood, demanded it. The flips started then. Evelyn's moxie cracking. She'd call. Voice honeyed venom. Josie, let's talk. Family counseling? My treat. Then, radio silence. Followed by Richard's midnight pleas. Mom's worried you're cracking.
Joe.
The pills, have you been skipping? Pills. The antidepressants she slipped me after the guilty plea. Laced with something to fuzz my edges. Make me doubt my own memories. I flushed them. Replaced with placebos from the drugstore.
Now.
She was the one unraveling. Accusing Richard of turning you against me. Divide and conquer. Baby. Their alliance frayed like cheap denim. By spring 25, the noose tightened. Hank delivered the dossier, photos of Evelyn visiting the farmhand in a nursing home, end-stage liver failure, but lucid enough for a deathbed whisper to a notary. Affidavit in hand, and signed but damning. Richard's affair? Blown wide open via a concerned colleague's email to Evelyn, complete with screenshots. She confronted him at my birthday dinner. Irony of ironies, hurling a crystal vase that shattered against the fridge like her composure. You idiot! She's playing us. I feigned shock, dabbing tears with a napkin monogrammed J.R.E. Josephine Richard Ellis. The unholy trinity. They demanded more then, cornering me in the living room after Ellie stormed out. The farm's gone, but we can buy it back, Richard said, eyes bloodshot. Just sign over the life insurance, your folks' policy. It's got a rider.
Writer.
For the retreat. Untouched because I trusted. Evelyn nodded, lips pursed. For the family. Josie. Ellie's future. Future. Built on my grave. Apparently. I smiled. Slow and serpentine. One condition. Thanksgiving. My rules. No questions. That dinner. November 27th, 2025. The table groaned under turkey from the butcher. Mashed potatoes whipped by Ellie's hand, and Evelyn's famous cranberry relish, tart as her tongue. Richard carved, sweat beading on his brow, while Evelyn fidgeted with her napkin ring, a heirloom from her sainted mother. Ellie sat silent, scrolling TikTok under the table, her loyalty a quiet anchor. I waited until the plates were cleared, the pie steaming in the center like a false idol. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, standing, voice echoing off the knotty pine walls we'd painted together last summer. A toast to family. To secrets that bind us. Glasses clinked, Evelyn's hesitant, Richard's trembling. I pulled the album from the sideboard. Its leather cracked like old skin. Photos spilled. Dad's smile in the cab of the combine. Mom's hands in the soil. The farm at dawn. Golden and eternal. Then, the new ones. Hank's work, Evelyn. Check in hand. Outside the machine shed. Richard. Laughing with the serpent tattoo girl in a Heartland Suites parking lot. Wire transfer confirmations. Stamped and official. Gasps, Ellie's first. Then Richard's choke. Evelyn's face drained to chalk. "What is this?" she hissed. "Justice," I replied, flipping to the affidavit. "Dad didn't die by accident." "You made sure of that, Evelyn. To protect your boy. And Richard, you let her. Took my home, my name, my sanity. Demanded more. Well, here's your more." The room erupted. Richard lunged for the album. "You're bluffing." But Ellie blocked him. Eyes fierce. "Don't touch her, Dad." Evelyn wailed. A sound like a gutted fish. Lies. All lies from that witch of a PI.
Witch.
But
Kettle.
I laid it out. The IRS audit I'd triggered anonymously. The civil suit against their Cayman nest egg. The call to the DA about manslaughter. Controversial? Filing on a dead man's behalf. Dragging Ellie's grandparents' memory through the mud?
Yeah.
But they started the fire. The climax cracked like thunder. Richard. Cornered. Flipped. First time I'd seen real spine in him. She forced me.
Mom.
"The debt's yours. From Dad's medical bills." "You said the farm was fair game." Evelyn reeled. Hand to chest. "Traitor. After all I sacrificed." Sacrifice. Her word. Weaponized. Ellie bolted upstairs. Sobs echoing. I followed. But not before seeing Evelyn's eyes cold. Calculating, shift to me. "You'll regret this, Josephine.
Blood or not.
You're one of us now. One of us." The words lingered as I tucked Ellie in, her tears soaking my shirt. "Is it over, Mom?" Over. That's the lie we tell kids. It wasn't. 2 weeks later. The twist. A letter from Hank. Envelope postmarked Milwaukee. Inside. A confession not theirs. Mine. Turns out, in my haze of grief after Mom's death, I'd signed off on a loan against the farm, desperate cash for her chemo. Forgery?
No.
My own hand, shaky but real, witnessed by Richard on our first anniversary. I'd buried it, convinced myself it was his doing. But the books showed otherwise, my signature, my desperation, enabling the spiral. I wasn't innocent. I was complicit, the first domino in their greed. Debate fodder.
Right?
Was my revenge righteous? Or just a mirror to their sins? I burned the letter, ashes scattering on the wind toward Iowa. Evelyn called truce, for Ellie, over lukewarm tea. Richard slunk back, tail between legs, affair ashes. The farm? Bought back at auction. Turbines humming like uneasy ghosts. Happy? Tragic? Pick your poison. We sit at dinners now. Silences thicker than gravy. Each of us nursing wounds we inflicted.
Family.
Blood don't lie. It just stains. The truce held like wet paper in a downpour, flimsy, fraying at the edges with every sidelong glance and loaded forkful. December rolled in on a sleet storm, blanketing Elmhurst in that gray slush that turns minivans into sleds and tempers to tinder. Ellie threw herself into winter formal prep, sequins and hairspray a shield against the fallout, while I graded essays on the Great Gatsby, irony dripping like condensation on my classroom windows. All the sad young men, I'd mutter. Red pen slashing through half-baked theses on the American dream.
Dream.
What a crock. Richard tried.
God.
Did he try? Flowers from Jewel-Osco. The cheap kind with cellophane crinkling like accusations. Left on the dash of my Corolla. For old time's sake. Joe. Old times. Like the weekend in Door County. Cheese curds and lake breezes. When he proposed on a pier slick with herring guts. I accepted, ring glinting like fool's gold.
Now.
He'd hover in the doorway at dawn. Tie crooked, begging for a commute kiss. We're good, right? Team again. Team. As if betrayal was a fumble, not a fracture. Evelyn was the wild card. Her flips more acrobatic than a Cirque du Soleil reject. One day, she'd slide into my DMs, yes. The woman had an iPhone. Begrudgingly, with links to healing retreats in Sedona. All crystals and chakras. For us girls, the note read, emoji hearts winking like lies. The next, she'd corner me at the Jewel. Cart loaded with off-brand everything. Hissing about poisoning the well with my witch hunt. Witch hunt. Her favorite, trotted out at family therapy, mandatory, per the DA's plea deal sweetener.
Dr.
Patel, with his wire-rimmed glasses and endless notepads, would nod sagely as she spun tales of my hysteria, post-probation paranoia turning me into a harpy. I'd counter with facts, the affidavit, now notarized by a dying man's proxy, the audit uncovering $87,000 in laundered green. But facts in therapy? They bend like light through water. The decisions got controversial fast. Christmas Eve. Richard's brother Lou showed, fresh from county lockup. Tattoos blooming like kudzu up his neck.
Parole violation.
Something petty like boosting a catalytic converter for scrap. Evelyn insisted. Blood. Josie. Holidays are sacred. Sacred. I bit my tongue. Served eggnog spiked with my resentment, while Lou regaled us with tales of the system, eyes darting to the silverware drawer. Ellie ate it up, her rebel heart latching onto his sob stories. Later, in the kitchen, as I scrubbed terrines caked with congealed gravy, Richard cornered me, let him crash a few nights. He's family. Family. The word again. A noose tightening. I said yes.
Why?
Leverage. Hank tailed Lou that week, snapping pics of him fencing farm tools, my tools, salvaged from the auction. Tipped the cops anonymously, Lou vanished back to Joliet by New Year's. Evelyn blaming, your bad juju. Josephine. Bad juju. As if karma was a boomerang, not a blade. January brought the real gut check. The farm sale closed, miracle of miracles, funded by a quiet settlement from the Turbine Corp, spooked by my lawyer's letters hinting at environmental kickbacks. I drove out alone. Ellie in school. The highway a ribbon of black ice under tires humming hymns. The house stood defiant, roof patched with tar paper dreams, barn leaning like a drunk at last call. I walked the rows, snow crunching under boots, breath fogging the air. Hargrove land. Mine again. But tainted, every furrow whispering Dad's last gasp. Mom's chemo bills I'd signed away in panic. That's when the doubt crept in, insidious as black mold behind sheetrock. Was I the villain? Stealing their scraps, dragging Ellie's dad through the courts, forcing Evelyn to sell her Buick to cover legal fees? The PI bills hit $12,000. I paid from the settlement. But the math didn't lie, our nest egg.
Cracked.
Ellie needed braces. College apps loomed. And here I was, playing God with grudges. Controversial as hell. Forgiving them meant swallowing pride. A bitter pill after years of poison. But revenge? It hollowed you out, left echoes where laughter used to be. Evelyn flipped again, mid-month, showing up unannounced with a U-Haul trailer hitched to her rental Chevy. "Moving in," she declared, boxes stamped with fragile in sharpest scrawl. "Richard needs me. And you, well, you're family now. Family." The ultimatum hung, accept, or she'd go public with your instability, whispers to the school board about my erratic behavior. Blackmail. Served with lemon bars. I let her in. The guest room rechristened Nana's suite, her muumuus draping the laundry like surrender flags. The tension built like a nor'easter. Winds howling off Lake Michigan. Dinners turned interrogations, Evelyn quizzing Ellie on proper suitors, Richard droning about job hunts, demoted now.
Hoking seed corn door to door.
I'd escaped to the den. Laptop glowing with manuscript pages. The retreat reborn in pixels. Hargrove Haven, where stories take root. But roots? Twisted now. Choked with weeds. February's full moon brought the scheme's apex. Valentine's Day. Richard planned a do-over. Dinner at Giordano's. Deep dish dripping cheese like tears. Evelyn babysat. Her gift to us, a coupon for couples massage at the mall spa. I played along. Skirt hugging hips. Lipstick the color of arterial blood. Over sausage and sauce. He proposed reconciliation. Drop the suit.
Joe.
We sell the farm, split 3 ways. Fresh start. 3 ways. Including her. I smiled, foot tracing his calf under the table. One more dinner. My call. The truth. All of it. He agreed, eyes hopeful as a puppy's.
Hope.
The cruelest cut. Back home. Evelyn waited, robe belted tight, a tumbler of scotch in hand, her nerve tonic. Heard the pitch, she said. Voice slurred silk. Smart boy. But you're the problem. Josephine. Always were. Too proud for your britches.
Proud.
From the woman who'd clawed her way from mill girl to bank vault queen, pinching pennies till they screamed. I poured myself a finger, top shelf, pilfered from Richard's stash and toasted, to britches. And the ones will burn. The flips accelerated. Richard, emboldened, started side gigs, Uber Eats at midnight, ferrying drunks from the tavern to tract homes. One night, he confessed over takeout lo mein. Mom pushed me into it.
Joe.
The affair, payback for ignoring her advice. Payback. Evelyn's gospel. Twisted filial. She overheard, bursting in with accusations. Liar. You're weak. Always were. The argument spilled into the hall. Ellie witnessing from the stairs, face pale as popover dough. I mediated, voice calm as a loaded chamber. Enough. The dinner decides. What? Absolution? Annihilation? Even I didn't know. March thawed the ground, mud sucking at my wellies as I prepped the farm for spring, hiring a crew to yank turbine stumps. Soil testing for toxins. Hank called. Got something juicy?
Kid.
Evelyn's will leaves the bulk to a charity in the Caymans. Same as the nest egg. Charity. For abandoned cats. Or laundered cats. I laughed, bitter as dandelion wine. File it away. We're close.
Close.
To what? The gray zone widened, exposing her meant orphaning Ellie from her grandma's wisdom, the stories of Depression-era scrimping that masked the scheming. Richard's demotion? He'd taken to the bottle. Pab's tall boys in the garage, muttering about starting over in Phoenix. Phoenix. Ashes. Rebirth.
Tempting.
The dress rehearsal came Easter Sunday. Ham glazed and hymn sung at Evelyn's insistence. Methodist chapel downtown. Stained glass filtering grace like fool's gold. Post-service brunch at ours. Deviled eggs spiked with my spite. Conversations deviled by subtext. Ellie, home from a sleepover. Picked up the vibe. This family's a powder keg. Mom. Powder keg. Lit by my match. April showers brought the storm. Tax day loomed. The audit's fangs bared, fines stacking like cordwood. $45,000 and climbing. Richard begged, borrow against the farm again. Just this once. Again. The echo chilled me. Evelyn. Ever the banker. Crunched numbers on her abacus app. Sign here.
Dear.
For stability.
Stability.
Their siren song. I signed nothing. A forgery of my own. Dates fudged. Amounts inflated. Planted in Richard's briefcase for the IRS spot check. Controversial? Framing your husband for fraud. The crime you once took the fall for? Beyond. But mercies for saints, I was sinner now. The dinner loomed. April 27th. A Sunday scorcher pushing 80. Azaleas bleeding pink against the siding. I shopped at Mariano's. Ribeyes dry-aged. Asparagus snapped crisp. Wine from Napa, Cabernet bold as blood. Ellie helped set the table. Linen napkins folded like flags of parley. What's the play, Mom?
Play.
Theater of the Damned. Richard arrived early. Cologne heavy as guilt. Tie knotted Windsor tight. Evelyn swept in last. Pearls gleaming. A bottle of her, house red under arm, $2 chuck. But she'd call it vintage. We sat. Forks tinkling like wind chimes in a gale. Small talk. Ellie's prom dress, emerald green. Like Ireland, she'd said. Richard's leads in sales bullshit. Evelyn complimented the table. Classy. Josie. Almost like you mean it. I did. Meant every cut. As coffee steamed, decaf. To keep edges sharp, I rose. Album in hand redux. Truth time. Photos first. The forgery I'd planted. Time-stamped to his laptop. Richard blanched. What the? Then Evelyn's will. Cayman stamps glaring. Her gasp was theatrical. Private. The flip. Richard turned on her fully. Voice cracking. You plan to cut me out? After everything? Everything. The manslaughter. The lies. Evelyn fired back. Ungrateful whelp. I saved you from her. From that dirt farm.
Dirt.
My legacy.
Dismissed.
Ellie slammed her fist. Stop. You're all monsters. Monsters. The word hung. Mirror to us all. I dropped the bomb. The new affidavit. Farmhand's deathbed video. Grainy. But his voice clear. Evelyn paid me. Break line. For the boy.
Boy.
Richard, who buried his face in hands. Sobbing. I didn't know.
Mom.
Swear to God.
God.
Absent that night. The shock rippled. Evelyn lunged. Nails raking my arm, scratches like war paint.
Lies.
All for your revenge porn. Revenge porn. Her spin. Viral ready. Richard pulled her off. Pleading. Enough. We'll confess. Together. Together. Their bond. Reforged in fire?
No.
The twist I'd buried. My signature on that loan. I confessed it then. Voice steady. I started it. Desperate. Stupid. Enabled you both. Enabled. The word freed them. Or damned us. Debate ignited Ellie first. So we're all screwed? Great family bonding. She fled to her room, door slamming like judgment. Evelyn laughed. Manic. See? You're no better.
No.
But better enough to walk away? The aftermath slithered in like fog off the lake, thick, disorienting, muffling screams into sighs. May bloomed riotous, lilacs heavy with false sweetness, while our house sagged under the weight of half-truths and court dates. Ellie withdrew, her room a bunker of banned posters and locked diaries, emerging only for meals choked down in silence. I hate this, she'd mutter, pushing peas around her plate like accusations.
Hate.
The great equalizer, binding us in its grip. Richard spiraled hardest. The forgery bust hit him like a freight train, suspended license. Ankle monitor blinking red at the dinner table like a devil's eye. He took to the basement,
Man cave rechristened confessional.
where Pabst whispered absolution.
Nights.
I'd find him there. TV flickering infomercials for miracle slicers. Eyes hollow as gutted trout. Why'd you do it?
Yo. Why?
The question that circled like a hawk. Because you taught me how, I'd say. Door clicking shut behind me.
Taught.
The curriculum of cruelty. Evelyn? She lawyered up. A shark from the loop named Goldstein, who billed by the gasp. House arrest in her condo. Pearls traded for a Fitbit tracker, while she plotted appeals, painting me as the mastermind in voicemails that veered from vitriol to velvet. Josie. Darling.
Drop it.
For the girl. The girl. Ellie. Pawn in her game. But Evelyn flipped one last time. Testifying against Richard in the fraud prelim. He forged my signature too. Your Honor. Desperate measures. Desperate. Her hall pass. Revoked. The media sniffed blood, local rags first. The Elmhurst Press with its agate-type headlines. Suburban scandal. Family farm feude turns felonious. Then WGN. A puff-piece ambush at the Jewel where I loaded my cart with ramen and resolve. Mike in face. Mrs. Ellis. Is revenge worth the ruin? Ruin. Camera pans to Ellie in the background. Hoodie up. Flipping the bird. Worth it? The question haunted grading sessions. Red pen hovering over essays on Macbeth. Ambition's price. Blood on the hands. Controversial decisions piled like cordwood. I pulled Ellie from public school, homeschool co-op in Oak Park. Progressive moms with Priuses and pronouns. A bubble from the backlash. Trauma-informed, the facilitator cooed. But Ellie seethed. I'm not broken.
Mom.
You're the one playing God.
God.
Her God now. Lapsed Catholic with a Ouija board under the bed. I let her pierce her nose. Dye her hair magenta, small surrenders in the war of wills. The farm called. A siren's song over the I-80 drone. Weekends. We'd escape. Ellie sketching in the pasture. Me tilling rows for heirloom tomatoes. Soil black as forgiveness under nails. Hank tagged along once. Grizzled guardian with a thermos of Folgers. You did good.
Kid.
But endings? Messy. Messy. The affidavit trial loomed. Manslaughter charges against Evelyn. Negligent homicide soft-pedaled for her age. Richard as accomplice? Plea bargain down to accessory. 5 years probation if he sang. He sang all right. June solstice. Longest day, bleeding into night. He sat me down on the porch swing, creaky relic for my folks. Full confession.
Joe.
For us.
Us.
The pronoun that once warmed, now chilled. Details spilled. Evelyn's hand in Dad's sabotage. Yes, but Richard's too. The farmhand bribed by both. After-hours meeting in the shed. I drove the getaway, he admitted. Voice gravel.
Getaway.
From murder. My murder by proxy. I recoiled. Swing chains rattling like manacles. You. The man who'd held my hand through Mom's vigil. Promising forever. He nodded. Tears carving tracks in stubble. For the family. Our future. Future. Built on bones. The flip crushed me. Not his, but mine. That night, insomnia's grip, I dug deeper. Hank's final file. Emailed at 3 a.m. Mom's medical records. Chemo logs I'd signed. But buried in the addendum, a note from her oncologist. Dated weeks before. Patient declined aggressive treatment. Signed waiver, Josephine Hargrove.
Declined.
I'd initialed it. High on grief. Low on hope. Natural causes, the doc wrote. Not the bills. Not my desperation. The cancer won fair. My loan? For nothing. A ghost debt. Haunting us all. Twist's knife. I wasn't a martyr. I was the fool. Projecting my guilt onto their greed. Enabled?
No, initiated.
In my blindness. Debate roiled. Does intent absolve or amplify the sin? I burned the waiver. Ashes joining the letters. Wind scattering to the stars. July 4th crackled with fireworks, literal and litigious. Goldstein cut a deal. Evelyn pleads to tampering. House arrest extended. Restitution to the farm fund. Richard? Community service. AA meetings in church basements, smelling of coffee and contrition. The dinner table shock? It echoed in headlines. Water cooler whispers at my new gig, adjunct at community college, teaching lit to welders and waitresses. Heard about your ex, a student grinned.
Ex.
I'd filed papers in May. Quiet as a library fine. Ellie thrived in the chaos. Ironically. Prom queen in her emerald gown. Valedictorian speech quoting Auden. We must love one another or die.
D.
The word lingered as we packed her for NYU. Dorm fridge stocked with top ramen.
Posters rolled tight.
Proud of you, kid, I said. Throat tight. For seeing through the bullshit. Bullshit. Our shared lexicon. Evelyn visited once. Post-deal. Frail in a wheelchair, age catching up.
Or act.
We sat on the farm porch. Sipping isetea. Cicadas chorusing indifference. I did it for him, she said. Eyes distant as horizon. Him. Richard, who waited in the truck. Engine idling like escape. And you did it for her. Her. Ellie. The blood that bound without staining. Truce? Armistice? Maybe. She left a check, restitution, and signed card for the retreat.
No strings.
Strings. Always strings. August heat baked the earth. Harvest moon rising fat and forgiving. I opened Hargrove Haven tentative first guests, writers from the city, cabins jury-rigged from barnwood. Readings under string lights. Stories spilling like wine. Richard showed once.
Tentative.
Bearing a six-pack of root beer, Ellie's favorite. Can I help? Help. The word. Weapon turned olive branch. I let him. Controversial? Hiring your betrayer as handyman. Watching him mend fences he broke?
Yeah.
but healing's messy. Scars that pucker but hold. Fall foliage turned the drive to flame. Ellie home for break, with tales of Manhattan grit. Dinner's now, just us. Takeout tie on the coffee table. Laughing over her prof's foibles. You're free, Mom.
Free.
The verdict. The final twist?
No thunderclap.
Just quiet revelation. November chill. Another Thanksgiving scaled down.
No Evelyn.
Richard invited but absent. Working late. Ellie and I. Turkey for two. Pie from the freezer. Midway through Grace secular. Grateful, she slid an envelope across. Read it later. Later, her essay. College app draft. My family's reckoning. Betrayal. Revenge. And the gray between.
Gray.
She'd chronicled it all, not accusatory, but layered, forcing readers to pick sides or none. Nobody's the villain, she wrote. We're all just human, fumbling in the dark. Human. The word absolved. I cried then. First real tears since the album drop. Happy? In fragments. Tragic? In echoes. The farm hummed outside. Turbines silent. Soil renewed. Blood don't lie, it evolves. Stains fading to stories.
And me?
Josephine Hargrove again. Ellis a shed skin. I teach. I write.
Itil.
Revenge? A chapter closed. Debate lingering like smoke. Was it worth it? Ask the readers. Ask the wind over Iowa.